boy who's lived in Australia for a long time. When you ask Australians, you look at Australian systems, the reasons that are not at all surprising, the 100%, their first destination or their preferred destination, and for most of them, their first destination is New Zealand. It's a little market, you can cover up, your mistakes are going to be buried there, but more than that, it's a similar land, it's the same land. It's the same, virtually the same culture, it's the same traditions and history. It's a place where Australian systems cut their teeth and learn how to expand. Having said that, I mean, it's a very similar market, but Australian systems stuff up when they go to New Zealand, just assuming that it's so similar, it's just like rolling out another one in another suburb, but it's much more complicated than that.
I'm going to throw this in. Easy to smoothly. I mean, it's a balancing act, right? I mean, you go with a market like China, which is promising, everyone talks about it, but it's a little crowded, or do you go somewhere off the beaten track, so to speak?
Well, you know, I already gave my opinion as far as opening up, but I did not mention the products and services that you're offering, because we have 6 different franchise companies, and it's really interesting when you look at Signarama has the sign business, and Embroidery has the embroidery business, and both of those companies are doing well, but they have different challenges in different marketplaces, where garments are inexpensive in some areas and hard to get equipment into other areas, and signage can be a great market in most areas, but there could be some restrictions in others. So I would add to the discussion that you should make sure you're looking at your product and what you're selling, and make sure that fits the market you're going into.
Robert?
Yeah, I to add to what Ray has said, just 2 examples. Panda Express, which is really big in America, Chinese fast food. So they visited with me when they were in Singapore, and I told them, look, unless you have something really, really special, I don't think any Singaporean Chinese will eat your food. I said, it's so Americanized, right? So they were a little bit disappointed, but they appreciated that I was honest. I think another example...
And they stayed away.
Yeah, I think they're still doing their whatever, right?
They do really well in the U.S.
Right. I mean, like there's this really famous steakhouse in Queensland, Australia. It's called Hawk's Breath. I mean, hawk means wild pig, right? So they wanted to go to the Middle East and ask me if I could broker for them. I said, no, I'm not gonna go there and have my hands or legs cut off, because the logo is a pink pig, So I mean, certain things it's one man's meat, it's another man's poison. So we urge all our clients, I said, look, whatever you want to do a pre-entry study. Pretend you are the CIA, go and just suss out what's happening there, who are the competitors, what do people like to eat, what is their spending power, is the current players related to the generals, the government, and what have you. So, so you know what you're getting into. Yeah? But finally, I want to say that sometimes all your planning, those are all good, but you might end up with someone that you didn't plan to work with. I have this client called Spinelli Coffee. So, they were planning to go to Hong Kong and go to, Shanghai, but they ended up going to Cambodia first, because the daughter of the Minister for Agriculture loved the coffee, and she was just ready to bring the concept over there. And she has all the doors open, thanks to her father and what have you. So you never know.
You brought up a very interesting point, which I think everyone really knows about, but actually operationalizing it is difficult. You talk about doing your study, doing your investigation. Easier said than done, right? I mean, you parachute in, talk to local experts, consultants, do a mall tour, so to speak, talk to some businessmen, come back and make a decision. How long and how deep should that study be, in your experience?
From our end, we do a site search. We dig into the people. You can literally do it for months and really exhaustive information, but when it ultimately comes down to it, if you're doing a master license holder like Albert's talking about, you're only going to be as good as that operator. You're only going to be as good as that company or that leader is in managing and building and growing the business. I would much rather have a stronger master license holder and operator in a very average market than have the best market in the world with a poor operator. So.
Right, remember that. That's a very interesting point. Andrew, I'd like to add to that.
Dave, just adding to that, there's interesting, I did quite a lot of work in Vietnam, and David mentioned I actually drafted Vietnam's franchise law for the government 5 or 6 years ago. But interesting item in the paper this morning. One of the gaps in the suite of leading international franchise systems in Vietnam is McDonald's. Now, I know Philippines is the only market in the world, I believe, where the local competitor, Jollibee's, beats McDonald's in the market. But if there's any, it's interesting. I mean, Jollibee from here, from the Lotteria from South Korea, the Burger King, KFC. I mean, the major brands are in Vietnam, but McDonald's has only just been, I know it was announced in the paper today that they're going there. Now, if there's ever a company in the world that had the resources and the experience and the ability to do the planning and the audits and the site surveys and everything else, it's McDonald's. I mean, it's obviously a leading franchise company in the world. The fact that it's taken them so long to go there, I'm not privy to their boardroom discussions and why now that the time is right. But you would have thought it's surprising that McDonald's was not there 5 years ago, at least. Maybe 10 years was too long. I mean, that shows you that it can be a long lead time for whatever reason. Possibly it's finding the right partner. I think all speakers have mentioned that one of the key successes in that market, whether it's direct franchising to a franchisee, whether it's a joint venture with a joint venture partner, whether it's master franchising with a partner, that partner's key. It's interesting, in Vietnam, their Vietnamese partner is son of the Vietnamese Prime Minister, so that seems to be a fairly well connected partner.
There are a lot of things which aren't very clear, right? Such as connections in government. We'll get to that later on. But I'll put you on the spot right now. Hardest country to do business in right now, to do overseas franchising, at least in Asia, which is close to where many of the Filipino companies are.
China.
You're a firm believer that there's still space in China. Most difficult. I meant hottest markets to do business in right now.
I would put this market right up there, and that's why we came here to work this trade show. We're staying for the 3-day show and are going to be exhibiting here with all 6 of our brands with the United Franchise Group. So we are already in Thailand, we're in Singapore, Malaysia. So we love this market as far as being a real good spot for us to expand. I think China is a daunting, hot market. Obviously, it's a great market, but it's huge, obviously, and a lot of other challenges. And India, we're already in India, and that is going very well. So.
If you were to advise...
my neighbor Indonesia, I think they have big population, and the economy is now vibrant. And much of the economic players are non-governmental and are the players themselves. So I think you go there, you know the language, then you are on. Because we have 1 billion population, I think, in Indonesia right now. And you have 7,000 islands, I think. Of course, to begin with, it could be difficult because the language barrier. But I think the moment you make a breakthrough, and you have assistance to make you understand the local taste, the local flavor, and the local culture. And I think it's another vibrant economy to come to be looking on with very close by.
Philippines, Indonesia. Albert, what about the newly opening
Yeah.
economies like Myanmar.
You know, it's
for example.
really subjective.
That's correct.
I wouldn't